Can you guys hear me now? Okay, perfect. Here we go. Sorry about that. All right, we'll get started again. So what I want to start off with is we are going to do an overview here of what's important when you're just getting started with OptionVue. I'm going to go through pretty quick, go through settings. Going to talk about what I recommend as far as getting things dialed into the way you're going to use OptionVue, at least to start off with, and show you where to go if you want to change things later, and then kind of go into some of the most important features that people are looking to get out of OptionVue. Let me make sure. Let's see. So you guys should be seeing my screen now, my OptionVue. And this is where we start off. We're going to start off in the quotes display. You want to go up to the settings tab. And this is kind of a different layout than OptionVue 7. So if you had a trial of OptionVue in the past, we have changed and kind of made it easier to navigate around OptionVue with OptionVue 8. So here's the settings. First selection under the settings tab is the preference. Okay. And under preferences, you will be able to go first. I recommend going to the graphic analysis section. Okay, here is where OptionVue defaults to looking at the expiration line when you first open up the analysis of a trade. I like looking at where I'm at right now or today, and that would be selecting this T+0. Okay. The other thing is that if you are looking at volatility chart percentiles, I like to look at a 2-year percentile history. Okay, but the real thing to start off with is the graphic analysis tab here, and that's to start off at T+0. Okay, that's the preferences. You can go in there, you can change some fonts and coloring if you want to under the settings tab and preferences. The next thing I recommend going to is the default models. Okay, here in the lower right hand corner you can see how OptionVue calculates market price. Might be a little bit different than your broker does. And slippage is set as a default to small. I recommend using none. That way, when you are modeling and looking at trades, you're actually looking at the pure market price. You have a number of selections here. Hit bid ask, as an example, would mean you're buying at the ask and selling at the bid, so you're getting the worst possible fill. And I like to model using just the market price. Okay. You could OK out of this one then and go to settings again, and this time we're going to go to default auto strike, and this is important if you're trading weeklies. If you're trading weeklies and you first get OptionVue, they're not going to be displayed unless you define them manually. Okay, so under the default auto strike tab, you can change the range of in the monies that you're looking at on the put and call side and the out of the money extent. Large. So what OptionVue does every day is it looks at when you open up an options chain or a matrix, OptionVue looks at where the money is and creates a range around that. Okay. The default for the initial download of OptionVue is using natural intervals. What that does is it will condense an options chain to eliminate any strikes further out in time that aren't trading. Okay, so if you are looking at weeklies, you'll have to select this box here if you want to include weeklies to show up. You'll have some underlines that Apple's a good example, will have a lot of weeklies trading, and closer in expiration strikes start opening up that perhaps weren't trading maybe a month further out in time. So by displaying all strikes, you're going to have some gaps in the options chain further out in time, but you're going to see all the strikes that are trading closest to expiration. So I kind of recommend using display all strikes until you are comfortable or know that you just want to look at a complete picture of what's trading across the board, and not have any intervals or blank strikes that are showing up in the options chain for further out months or weeks. If you wanted to include leaps in your options chain, this is where you would come in and select those as well. Okay. Now, beyond the default auto strike, if for instance you traded the SPX differently, wanted to see things differently than you saw in maybe in equity or a different index, you can further customize the option chains you see for each underline. This is just a default setting here. Okay. Under settings again, default matrix format is how you can set up some defaults for how you are viewing information in the matrix. Okay. I like to see a cell size 1x5. You can see that you'll have a drop down here of all the available parameters you can set up for each column in the matrix. But important to have is trade an existing position. Okay, this way you can see any proposed trades you're making, and then if you wanted to track them, you would convert them and they would move over to the existing position. So this is where you're going to be able to really see what trades you are looking at for analysis. Okay, very important to have these two in here. Okay, once you had your selected column headings that you wanted here, you would hit set default 1 and you could have up to 3 different defaults. Okay. New in OptionVue 8 is this Backtrader window is always up here now. So if you ever want to go into Backtrader, you could just hit this calendar button, and we'll do that in a little bit. But if for any reason you didn't want this to show up all the time, you could change that under preferences, and that way if you didn't want to have this visible, you could always come into data and then select Backtrader that way, and then this would pop up here. But this is always going to be up here. And if you are ever using Backtrade and you have information in here, you'll be able to know that that's the date and time you're looking at. Okay. So let's go back to home here. Okay, and we're going to talk about the quotes display just for a moment. Okay, you can have a number of different quotes displays, and you can see down at the very bottom here, I have all these different tabs. Okay, I have this is what I'm looking at throughout the day. I have different groups under each of these group names. I have indexes at the top here, things I look at for volatility. If I have different positions in different accounts, I'll have a group of underlines for each account that I have. I have a watch list. And then I can create different tabs down here. And you just right-click on a tab, and it'll give you the ability to insert tabs, delete tabs, manage them, create new ones. And you can see I have a futures tab, I have an ETF sector tab. Okay, I have a tab for the VXX trading stuff that I'm looking at. But that's kind of nice that you can switch between tabs if you want to. Okay, now to insert columns, you would just highlight one of the column headings here. And you could hit the insert button on your keyboard, or come over to this little button here with the 3 lines on it, our little menu button, and you could insert a column. Okay. If you wanted to get rid of a column, you could come in here also and just delete the column. The delete keys, if you're using a PC, the delete keys and the insert button will do the same thing. If I hit the insert button on my keyboard or delete button, I can add or get rid of a column. If you're using a Mac and using an emulator, sometimes those buttons aren't on those keyboards. So because OptionVue is Windows based, if you needed to, you could do the same thing by coming up in the left hand corner here and clicking on that menu button. Okay. So if you're just getting OptionVue for the first time, you're going to see some columns that don't come up in the default quotes display. I like to have DVO. That just shows me how liquid something is that I'm looking at. It stands for dollar volume of options traded. Okay. I like to have an earned date or earnings date here. This way, it's automatically going to populate if we're gathering the information for that particular underline and it's available, that it shows when the next earnings announcement is going to be. And that stands for after the market close or before the market opens. Okay. So that is the quotes display. Now, if I want to go into an options chain, okay, I can double click on any symbol, or I can highlight the symbol by left clicking on it once and then clicking on the matrix. Okay. So let's take a look at Biogen. I'm just going to double click on this options on the symbol here, and it's going to pull up the options chain for me. Okay. Now, when you first get OptionVue, it's going to look like this. It's not going to have the colors in the matrix or the options chain. And this calls her on top, puts her on the bottom. You're going to see a little arrow here showing you where the at the money is. Okay. Up here is the actual. This is the stock. Okay. And if you click on this S button, that pulls in the standard deviations. Okay. So the pink color will show you the first standard deviation. The blue goes out in the second standard deviation, and this dark shaded line is so you can visually, get to where the at the money strike is on either the call or put side right away. Okay. One of the features, I had someone ask me about this earlier in OptionVue 7, there used to be an expand button so that you could see more details about the particular option field that you're highlighted in. Well, instead of that expand button now, you can double click on any row for any strike and you'll be able to see all the details about this particular option. So these are all the details about the 295 call on Biogen here for the contract expiring in 9 days. Okay, and when you're able to pull that up, you're going to have all this information here, all the theoretical modeling information, and then your Greeks over here. Okay, what's kind of nice about this expand window is that you're actually able to come in here and project the underlying price and today plus how many days you'd like to look at it in the future. So let's just say, in 5 days from now, and the underlying is at 300, you can see up here at this theoretical price what this is actually going to be worth if that actually happens. So if Biogen went to 300 in 5 days, this would be the price, theoretical price of this option, where the last price as of today was at 338. So that's kind of a neat feature to see, details about a particular option. And that's, we call that expanding. So if I clicked on this one, you're going to see the details all about this at the money, 287.5 call. Okay. Now, I did mention before that you can define specific underlines however you want to. And so if you clicked on this define button, you're able now to customize the Biogen option chains that you're looking at if you want to. Okay, so say for instance, with Biogen versus the default setting of looking at all strikes, you just wanted to look at 5-point strikes, you could set that up. And that setting would be saved then and overriding the default settings. So if you clicked anything else in here, it's going to check here, and then going forward, those settings for that particular underlying would be saved. So, a lot of people are trading indexes or trading things differently. Maybe they're not trading weeklies with Biogen. They could uncheck that. Okay. So, but this is how you'd be able to customize. And if for any reason, even with out of the money strike set to large, that there wasn't a strike that was showing up for you, let me cancel this and show you an example of this. So let's go way out of the money here. And let's say you thought, Biogen was just going to blast off and you wanted to see, some 370 or 375 strikes on the call side. Okay. One way to add an additional strike is to right click on the scroll bar top arrow here. Okay, up and it says no further strikes exist above 362.5. If they did, you'd be able to right click here, it would show you the next strike higher, and then you'd be able to left click and add that strike and the whole new line would show up. Okay, if you want to do a little bit faster way than doing the clicking, you could actually come to the define section, click on the options tab, and this is going to show you everything that's defined. This red section is the strikes and the green is the expirations. Okay, you could actually come down to a blank field and add in 365 if you wanted to. And I'm just typing it in and hitting down arrow. It's filling in the rest for me. Okay, and then you'd hit OK, and then those strikes will come up here and they'll show. And there actually are up there. Okay. These will take you further out in time. These arrows will take you further out in time. Okay, so you can see I've got some things defined further out, and if you want to, you'll have to scroll back in to come out and over here. Okay, I'm going to scroll down here to go back at the money here. Okay, and so now if I wanted to model a trade, I would just type in, if I'm selling, if I'm going to do a little credit spread here, I would type in a -5, go up however far I wanted to, and then put a +5. You don't have to put the plus sign in. It'll automatically come in for you. And then it shows you the net requirements down here and how much cash I'd bring in for doing this credit spread. Okay. If you were doing covered calls or any type of, you were long the underline, the same trade field here, this is trade. So this legend basically represents all these boxes, all these blank, all these fields over here. So the last was 287.84. The high for the day was 288.99. If you wanted to put a trade in, you could say I'm long 100, or you would put a minus if you were short. And then if you click on that, now it's looking down in the bottom like you're long those shares. Okay. I'm going to highlight that, and I don't want that there anymore. So now I'm just going to, you can hit the backspace, hit the delete key to get rid of that. And now you can see down here that it's looking at just this spread again. Okay. So I get that question a lot. If you wanted to say you were long a certain amount of positions, you would, of underline, you would actually put it in this trade field here. Okay. Now, if you have a trade and you actually have this trade on and want to track it, you would convert the trade. Okay, so you'll see if I hit this convert button, they're going to move over to the existing position field. You're never going to want to type in the existing position field, just the trade field. And the reason is that when you hit the convert trade button, it actually goes in and creates a trade log. You can see this down here. Okay, once you do that, say you put this actual trade on 3 days ago, you could come in here if you wanted to and change the date to the 9th if you wanted to. And then you could also change these prices to what you actually got filled at. Okay. And you can also adjust your commissions to be exact if you wanted to. That way you can create a good cost basis and track your trade going forward. Okay. Now, if you had multiple trades in the same underlying, okay, you could separate those trades so you could analyze them each independently or just a couple together by using this R column. Okay, so for instance, if I had a credit spread in Biogen here, and then maybe a credit spread out in February, and I'll go ahead and do that really quick just so you guys can see. I'm going to give this trade A. Okay, and you'll see once I did that, now this new box pops up and it says which trades do you want to look at. Okay, and I only have trade A so far. I'm going to come over here and put one on in February. I'm going to convert that one as well, and I'm going to go to the trade log, and I'm going to name that trade B. Okay, and now you'll see I have trade A and trade B, and I can click on this one and apply it. Now I'm just looking at trade A, and then you could do however complex a position you had. You could then do adjustments and analyze proposed adjustments to it, and it would only be analyzed with trade A, and then you could also do the same thing for trade B. Now this one's just going to show up. Okay, so we've included a new way to do this as well. Besides using the R column for trade A or trade B, okay, you can also use what's called a trade ID. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into the SPX and show you. You can see I've got some positions in here. Okay, and you can see now instead of the R column showing A, trade A, B, C, or whatever, 1, 2, 3, whatever you decide to do with it, you could do that now with a trade ID. Okay, and this is more customizable in that you can really name it whatever you want to. You can get really descriptive with whatever type of strategy you're trading, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this works in the same way as the R column does. Okay, we're working on some better integration between using the R column and the trade ID. And a lot of details about this can be found if you go to Help. And this is a great tab to use. I mean, if you wanted to do a walkthrough with one of us, you could come under the Help tab, and we can do remote support. You can send something to tech support, a message to them to get in touch with you. But this release notes is going to tell you what is upcoming in OptionVue and also what has just happened. And this latest trade ID, you can see all this information about the new trade ID field that we came up with and how to use it and what different things that you could do with using both the R column and the trade ID. Okay. So that was under the Help tab and Release Notes. Another place that I go to often, now that we're on the Help tab here, is I go to Help Docs a lot. Okay, this Help Docs is basically our online OptionVue user guide or manual. Okay, and I'll use this all the time. If I get a question that I can't remember the answer for, I can just come in here and type in matrix, just for example, and it gives you all these different things. We talked about the expand window. Okay, but this is a very good place to get answers to a lot of questions you may have about OptionVue. And again, that was under Help and Help Docs here. Okay, you can also see some tutorial videos as well. Okay, we've got a lot of great webinar recordings on our YouTube channel, and that'll get you over there. Okay, these little arrows over here will pop up if you have a position, which is nice because if you open up an options chain and you want to try to scroll around and find your position, these little arrows pop up when you have one, and they'll take you right to it. Okay. So let's go back to the Biogen we were looking at, and we'll look at graphic analysis a little bit. Okay. Jumping in here, so now I'm going to go ahead and I just want to look at trade A right now. Okay, a couple ways I could do that. I could come up here and I can look at my just trade A, or I can actually just highlight this if I want to. Okay, I'm just highlighting this weekly 4, and now I want to analyze that, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to left click on this line here, and you can click on the lines, and this represents what I am looking at right now. So this is looking at today. If I clicked on 126.17, now I'm looking at where I would be on January 26th if the underlying, was at any of the x-axis underlying prices here. Okay. Now earnings are coming out on Biogen, so that's why this is shifted up so high. OptionVue knows, because we have an earnings date defined for it in the quotes display here, it's showing that Biogen's coming out with earnings in 14 days from today. Okay, so what OptionVue is able to do, it's able to look at the volatility crush that would happen on this and show you where you would be after earnings if you actually put this position on. Okay. These little diamonds down here are going to show you where the current at-the-money straddle is pricing the move to be. Okay. This number right here, this dashed line, is always going to show you where your break-even is. Okay, so if I go back and click on today, click on this today line, okay, you can see where my break-even is right here. Okay. This turquoise-ish line here is called the wand, and you can left click at the bottom square on this wand here, and you can drag it, and it'll show you what your P&L will be to the penny of underlying price. Okay, now you can go up to 5 different lines, okay, if you wanted to. Okay, let's go ahead and close this. And now I'm going to go ahead and unclick this, and I'm going to go and look at my February one. Okay, I'm going to analyze that. Now, what OptionVue is doing as you're going through your graphic analysis here, it's saving everything you're looking at. Okay, and I can go back to the one I was looking at before, and at the top left here, it'll show you what position I'm exactly looking at. I'm going to go back to the one I'm analyzing now. And you can start superimposing different trades over each other to see which one is going to look better for you. Okay, it's pretty cool that you can do this. The other nice thing about it as well is that, if you were doing some kind of a butterfly or non-directional trade, condor, something like that, and you were planning on making an adjustment or rolling, one side out, you would be able to look at your existing position and then look at the position with the proposed adjustment. Okay. So what's kind of neat is that let's go ahead and let's just say we were going to add 2 more contracts on this side. Okay. So now what you can do is you can see I'm just going to look at trade B now. I'm going to apply that. Okay. So I don't have to have that selected anymore. So now you can see this is my existing position, and this is what my position would look like if I added these 2 additional calls up here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is you have E, T, and B right here. E stands for existing position. I can analyze that. If I click on T, now I'm just going to look at the trade. So it's going to look like you're going long 2 calls. Okay. Now if I want to look at both of them combined, I can analyze it, and this is what my position would look like if I did, in fact, add those calls on. Okay. So it gives you a real edge in the ability to, really kind of map out the course of a trade or anything you're considering doing. Okay. Now to get rid of a trade, you could always left click here and delete it with the delete button or backspace through it. Or you can come up to here and say I want to clear the trades, and anything that I had in the trade columns will be erased. Okay. Now if I wanted to put the closing position on for this trade, okay, I would put the minus, or I just wanted to sell some back. I could put a -2 or a -5 to close out the whole position. If you do want to close out the whole position, you can always use this button here, and it'll put the opposite trades in for you. And then you can convert them, and now it's a closed position, and it's been recorded. Okay. Now, if you actually did that and got filled at your brokerage, you could also come into the Home tab and then go to your trade log, and you'd be able to put the closing side of that trade. It knows it was you were closing trade B, so it gave it the correct R column here. And then you could type in what you actually got filled at on the way out of the trade. Okay. The other thing, let's take a look at. And I don't know if I mentioned before, but let's just say we weren't going to do this trade in the A trade. We didn't actually put that on, and you want to get rid of it. You can highlight the date, hit the delete key, and hit OK, and it's like you never did this trade whatsoever. Okay, so if you made a mistake or you did some back testing and you wanted to, get rid of a portion of a back test, you could just delete the dates and you'd be fine. Okay. Speaking of back testing, let's go ahead and jump into BackTrader. So this is how you would go back and test a strategy. Okay. What I usually recommend doing when people first do back testing is to go to the info button. When you first get OptionVue, you're given a default account 1 sample account. What you can do is you can really create an unlimited number of accounts in OptionVue. I've got a ton of things in here that I've back tested or done demonstrations like this on creating an account, and it's really easy to switch between accounts. Okay, really easy to parcel portions of an account to another account. Also easy to create a super account. Say you had a number of different brokerages and you wanted OptionVue to look at the big picture for you. You could, have all your positions in all your different accounts, separate accounts, and then you could create a super account where you could look at everything together and perhaps create a hedge if you wanted to. You can look at your, portfolio delta, portfolio theta. It's pretty neat and that you can do that. But to start a back test, I usually recommend starting a new account. Name it whatever you want. Don't worry about selecting any of these. This is if you wanted to, make a super account like I was talking about before. Okay. Hit OK. It's going to ask you, when do you want this to start? Well, this is going to be when you want your back test to start. Okay. So if you wanted to start in January of 2011, you could do that because we've got data going back to 2001. Okay. And then let's say you were going to start with 10,000. And these things can be changed in the T-log. as well. So now I've got a new account. Here it is. Okay. And then let's say I wanted to go back to January 11th, 2011. You type that in. You can use the calendar if you wanted to. I'm going to hit enter here. And the entire OptionVue system, once you do this, thinks that it is that date and time. Okay. So you can now look at anything you wanted to, and you can see where Apple was back in 2011. Jump into an options chain. Range check error, that's not good. I'm going to go ahead and go back into my OptionVue again. Let me close out of BackTrader. Okay, try that again. So this is where you can, again, jump between accounts. Here's another place you can do it right here. Okay, so now I'm in my backtest account. Let me go back to 1/10. Let's go to 2012. Hit enter. Okay, and then you can see, the timestamp will match up with what's in BackTrader. Okay, let me go ahead and jump into Apple again. Oh my goodness, I'm getting another error. Let me close out of that. I need to call technical support. So once you are in BackTrader, I'm having trouble getting into it right now. Sorry about that. But what you would do is you'd be able to step forward through time and place trades just like I was doing at Biogen, and you'd be able to step through in time and see how everything had changed. You'd be able to manually, adjust your trades. Again, as you step through time, OptionVue thinks that it's that date and time. So you would operate it just like you would if you were analyzing trades right now or in real time. Okay. The other thing you can do is if you wanted to get rid of an account, okay, you can click on the info button again, and I'm going to say this account is closed, and you hit delete account, and now it's like that account never existed. Okay. So the other thing to look at in here is if you want your gain losses to include previously realized gain losses. Okay, and if you do, this is where you would check this off. So this is a nice feature that a lot of brokerages don't have, is that if you are running some kind of a campaign or non-directional campaign or a brokering butterfly campaign, this is nice because you are able to track your gain and losses going forward as you make adjustments, and then maybe you're doing a separate trade or putting on another broken butterfly. It's going to really be a nice way to show include your gain losses in your campaign. Okay, and down here is where you're going to select what your commissions are. Okay, the default is like $1 or $50 per option and $15 minimum transaction fee. So it's really high. I definitely recommend for the first time coming in there and changing that. Okay. So let's see, I think I had a question here. Okay, so it looks like someone said they've been having trouble looking at the horizontal skew. So let's see if we take a look at a horizontal skew on Apple. So we can see where earnings are going to be coming out. It's very clear because you've got higher implied volatility here than you do here. Okay, so when you go to the model button and you click on volatility, we can see that OptionVue already knows when the event date is going to happen. Okay, when the earnings announcement is going to happen. Okay, so it's trying to flatten out the volatility cone for us automatically. Okay, if I erase that, you can see that it's a little bit higher right now, but as we get closer, this portion of the horizontal skew is going to creep up to the top of this volatility cone here, okay, towards the end of the month. Okay, so the important thing is that you want to have enough information defined in your options chain in order to get some volatility numbers further out in time. So with that being said, I'm going to click on my define, and you can see that I've got 5 standard options and 4 weeklies. So you want to make sure you have at least a decent amount going out here, probably 6 months at least, to create a nice volatility cone for you. Okay. Okay, so I've spent about 40 minutes going through some of the settings and how to use OptionVue, how I use it. I kind of wanted to keep things a little bit shorter here so that next presentation I can talk maybe more about some of the scanning tools. I'll dive into the backtesting a little bit more. What's really nice about Backtrader as well is that you can use Trade Finder and Survey in Backtrader mode as well. And I can go through a little backtest as well and show you how OptionVue would create some nice reports for you as you do that. Okay. Give it another minute here to see if anybody else has any questions. Okay, with that, everyone, thanks for coming. If you have any questions or want to do a personal walkthrough, don't hesitate to give Jeff or myself a call here. We have some nice remote software built in to look over your shoulder and kind of walk you through any features you'd like us to look at. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll be doing one of these again real soon.